Welcome to the Visionary Sister Circle with Dr. L, where women become their own liberation. This is the space for healing, alignment, and powerful self-reclamation. Here, we honor real stories, ancestral wisdom, and the courage it takes to evolve. If you're ready to discover your voice, protect your energy, and rise into your purpose, well, you're in the right place. Take a deep breath and come as you are. The circle is open. Welcome back to the circle with Dr. L. I know it's been a minute, and I'm truly thankful for those of you who continue to support and continue to listen and continue to reach out and say, when's the next episode? So a few things that have been going on in my life, and health-wise, I've had to really get comfortable with the fact that I need to sit back, let my body heal, and go through all the things that it needs to go through, and to rest. But I would say on a more lighter note, like I've had all of these ideas of, topics for episodes and upcoming episodes. But one that just really has been sitting on my spirit is about love. And I say that for a couple of reasons. I just recently celebrated my 10th anniversary with my husband, my love. And it was a quiet, intentional, and joyful celebration. And as we were traveling, I don't know, I don't want to date myself, but I'm sure many of you have heard Love and Happiness by Al Green. That played. And then another song on the playlist was Love Don't Live Here Anymore, by Faith, her version. And it had me thinking a lot about women, particularly Black women, and how we love and lose love and grieve and all those things, but how we have kind of put off our healing. And I say this to say, I have some friends who found love late in life. Some were like me, it was the second time around. Some are okay with being single and loving on themselves. And others have postponed their love because they've raised their children, and now they're looking for love, And so we're at different phases and stages of our life where love is the center. And I really wanted to, highlight the fact that women of color in particular are really taught to pour out and give endlessly. And we carry others. But in that, with that imbalance, I guess is what it's called, we're forced to stay strong and survive and not be allowed to soften. So with that healing that comes in, or should come in, with all these different phases, we have to learn how to relearn love. That sounds crazy, but relearn love from the inside out. And it's not about romanticism. I'm really not talking about the romanticism of it. I'm talking about the kind of love that has been shaped by our childhood, by our motherhood, by our survival, and our responsibilities that we have. Many of us have learned how to give love before we ever learned how to receive it. So in this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about the family dynamics of love, being the strong one, because I'm often labeled the strong one, conditional versus nurturing, and all those things. And some women found love early, and that has been a blessing for them. Some are still searching for it. Some had it and lost it. And some really never saw it modeled in a healthy way. And I say that from personal experience. Um, a lot of time we lose ourselves in love, or we have lost ourselves in love because we give too much in our relationships. We stay too long when we should have bounced way back. The signs were there, the flags were there. We associated that love with, I would say, more with our children, with obligation. And then many of us in that time of losing ourselves, whether it's because of our motherhood, our careers, or our partners, or whatever, we love others more, or we love others greater than we have loved ourselves. And I speak a lot to my generation, those who are in their 40s and 50s, even 60s. And, it was like a badge of honor when you get praised for how much we carried, or how strong we were. And it was not really mentioned about how well or not how well, or the absence of taking care of ourselves. And sometimes, with conditional love, I guess it's safe to say, many of our partnerships have been or tend to be conditional, especially if we were young and in love. A lot of our relationships were transactional. Some of us are still caught up in that. But it becomes exhausting, and we get disconnected, and some of us resent being in that space with that partner in that situation. And we have to get to the point where we choose to love ourselves without guilt, and set boundaries, because all of that pouring into others, we limit the boundaries, or we remove the boundaries and allow others to, and I don't want to sound like, a cynic, but we allow others to step all over us, abuse our love, mistreat our love. And we're at the point now in our lives, Black women, we're at the point where we have to release that. If it no longer serves you, you have to release it. We have to be comfortable in saying no, right? Because our personal healing is a responsibility. It's not a luxury. It's our responsibility. And it's not selfish. And it is also how we show our children, our loved ones, how we stop, check this out, how we stop passing pain forward, right? How we stop that cycle and really choose peace over chaos, really, become soft, or allow ourselves to soften without losing our strength, without being that strong one, and being seen and supported and loved, right? I have, in my own time and space, I have embodied all of those things that I just mentioned, all of those characteristics and qualities of love, because, you think someone loves you just as much as you love them, and you keep on holding out for hope. And we learned early how to love others deeply. But now it's really a time for us to love ourselves with just as much intention, with just as much energy and responsibility, right? And so I really wanted to, just have this conversation about losing love and regaining it or finding it again, I guess you could say, and then choosing to heal, right? Many of us just, when you lose love, and I'll go back to one time where I was so heartbroken. My partner and I had been together for 2.5 years, and I thought I was just so deeply in love. And he just made me feel, like a grown up. And he welcomed me and my son, because I was a single mom at that time. But I was so heartbroken because I found out that he cheated on me. And I was given 150%. I did the making sure the dinner was ready and make sure the house was clean, all those wonderful things, and just being available. And it broke me. I mean, it took me a while to get over it. Yes, I had a few days of just sadness, and, I cried and I broke down and everything. But it took time. I had cut off all of my hair. I got a tattoo. I started working out a little bit more. I really poured more into myself and into my son and the things that I was doing. I finished up school. Like, there were things that I did to kind of regain my identity and who I was, and not allow myself to experience that again, because I had experienced that previously with my son's father. And I really started thinking, like, is it me? What am I doing that's not working? So I had to spend some time with LaShawn. I had to really focus on those things that I was not, that the devaluing that took place, and how I just allowed myself, and in all honesty, just in all, unconditionally loving and not having a boundary, because I didn't think that I needed a boundary, and I really wanted it to I really spent that time just focusing on me as a person. And then, and finding my peace, finding that space to heal. And it wasn't fast. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm good, after 6 months. It took some time because I had loved him so deeply. And I would tell myself, I'm never going to love anybody like that, and it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. And so I eventually allowed myself to open up and receive the love that I was giving, and choose me overall. And so, just thinking about the times that we're in, especially, like I said, those of us in our 40s and 50s and 60s who have gone through the cycle of, loving someone or being loved and then losing it, losing our partner, relationships, friendships, because you could love your friends, but at some point, if it's not working, and I say this all the time, like I even found a shirt that said, let that shit go. You have to let it go, because we came here to be loved, and it is a beautiful thing. And it's important for us to show our young people, whether it's your children or your grandchildren or other young people that you come into contact with, or the elders. It's important for us to share the love, spread the love, right? Like Biggie said, spread love is the Brooklyn way. It's important for us to do that. And it's important for us to also love ourselves more than we have loved others. We have to pour love back into ourselves in order to heal, in order to open up. And maybe for some of you who are listening now, some of my sisters that are listening now, you might be in the process of either you're single and you're okay and you loving on yourself real hard, or you're open to a companion, to receiving a companion or a partnership or something like that. But it's important for you to know it's okay to love. It's okay to have lost it, and it's okay to regain it. But bigger than that, it is okay. It is imperative that we love on ourselves in order to heal. So that's my message for today. That's the episode. I appreciate you all for continuously supporting and just pushing me and reminding me of my purpose. I hope that this has been an episode where it allowed you to think. It helped you smile. It made you really position yourself to really open yourself up for love and to receive and to continue to give. But to also know that there are boundaries and you will not be abused in love. You will not be misused. You deserve better. And so, my sisters, I thank you for joining me today. I thank you for everything. I have a lot of things going on, but this centers me and it allows me the space to process and continue my spiritual journey. And so I thank you for joining me today. Look forward to the next couple of episodes coming up. I promise I will try to continue in the process of my healing, continue to have these conversations. And as always, the circle is open.